Throughout US history, we've been able to automate essentially most tasks, from making fire to driving cars. However, instead of constantly looking forward, it's good to take a step back and remember your roots. For instance, did you know?
In the 1700s, we entered our first industrial revolution, where we gained inventions like the spinning jenny, the steam engine, and the cotton gin. We began constructing turnpikes, which, in theory, should have allowed us to domestically ship things faster. In reality, though, nobody really used them because people feared it would create mega monopolies where travelers were charged thousands of dollars to go from Manhattan to Long Island. In terms of the cotton gin and spinning jenny, not to be confused with the Lazy Susan, they allowed our industry to evolve and, in theory, should have became less labor intensive. But again, in reality, that didn't happen because people would increase production and pass the labor down to their slaves.
Boom, 1800s. We start off the century with interchangeable parts, which allowed you to change one part of your gun to another, in case it do a little breaky. Like for instance, if you were participating in a duel, which were still legal until 1839, and you were like,
"Hey man, I don't like you.
I don't really like you either.
I would shoot you, but my gun's brokey. But now, with interchangeable parts, I can replace one part and make my gun very functional, and we'll all live in harmony until the Fire Nation attacks."
I still hate you though.
Continuing on with our first industrial revolution, we'll unleash the power of public transit, or I guess just regular transit, connecting our country together. We begin to construct the National Road linking Maryland to Illinois, and the Erie Canal opening the Midwest to the eastern economies. We also start building choo-choo trains, trademark still pending, but they still lack in the South. We opened up industry nationwide. We made transportation of goods just so much easier. Of course, though, we also get some improvement in the way our industry is structured. We get
The Lowell system, where women or mill girls would live on the campus of the manufacturing building and work on the campus too. Though my hips don't lie, so I'm gonna be honest. The Lowell system kinda declined because immigrants were willing to work for lower wages. We also get our first elevator, allowing buildings to grow higher and probably increasing America's obesity rates because we collectively decided to stop taking the stairs.
But we must not forget the farmers, or ladies, or whatever Abigail Adams said, because the farmers of America get their newest unlocked item, the mechanical reaper and the steel plow, revolutionizing the efficiency of farming, which sounds like a John Deere slogan. Now, for real though, it allowed for farming to speed up, letting our human population live for just a while longer.
But that all changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Roro, the South has just attacked. Oh, and they lost. Post-Civil War, we see the growth of the American Pacific Railway Company, which built thousands of miles of tracks across the U.S., moving farmers out west, combined with the Homestead Act of 1862, which gave them land to the farmers, so I guess they can finally farm some grass? I don't really know what farmers farm, to be honest. Mining also started booming as thousands of people came to the west, trying to strike gold, but ended up not getting any. But maybe it's not about the end product, but the friends we made along the way.
Speaking of friends we made along the way, cattle. Ah yes, cattle ranching took off, creating a new industry where cattle would be driven to a train station, put on the newly created Transcontinental Railroad, and shipped to Chicago to die. Finally, some individuals going to the west and making a living. Of course, though, I'm just kidding, because in reality, a bunch of mega corporations ended up swooping over, and the farmers, much like the cattle, were left to die.
Speaking of mega corporations, we finally see the emergence of monopolies, but these guys don't have monocles and top hats. Instead, they're just old dudes who bought out a competition, like Rockefeller, or people who bought out the entire production line, like Carnegie. They would come to dominate their respected fields, like steel and oil, at least until the
Age of materialism, the 1900s, where we finally hit the roads with a Model T, a breakthrough in industry, automating the task of walking the path that your dad took to school. The Model T also came with the breakthrough technology of the assembly line, where instead of hiring one smart guy to build a car, just hire 15 dum-dums. We also get the Clayton Antitrust Act, where the government says no more monopolies, because, I don't know, they said so.
The Roaring 20s. The radio is sending the advertising industry into a big bang because our entire entertainment industry is about to transform. Shows are popping up just for you to listen to these ad companies persuading you to get NordVPN and other products. But what do you need to even use NordVPN? Electricity, which finally came into fruition. Everything changed because now the Fire Nation attacked, but now they have blowtorches because electrical powered engines were kilometers more powerful than the steam engine in terms of efficiency, and with great electricity comes great responsibility. Pew pew pew, it's World War II and the American government built a programmable digital computer, ENIAC, which replaced human intervention with a program that made decisions instead. Cruise control was also patented by Ralph Teeter, so your car would be able to cruise at a steady speed without needing to put a lot of focus on it yourself, progressively making humans the lazy things we are today.
The 1956 Highway Act has arrived, and Eisenhower said build the highways. This led to the trucking industry flourishing because with all the big cities interconnected, it became worth it to have your trucks go on the highways to get the products they carry to a store near you.
Skipping to the 60s, we have the integrated circuit, a major advancement in all kinds of industries. Prior to this, hardware was really big, but once this was made, that changed, because not only did it put many other parts inside of it, it also had a smaller design, saving a ton of space as a result. Advancing on, we have the invention of the Stanford arm, It was a robotic arm that moved purely by a computer, allowing it to repeatedly do tasks at the same efficiency. There was also the rise in electronic data processing, where more information was stored and sorted by a computer, taking a human out of the equation. Remember our friend Carnegie from the 1800s? Well, he built a university which created the first self-driving car in 1984 called the Navlab 1. This bad boy was straight zooming across the US on these newly built freeways. On a test run, the Navlab 1 self-drove from Pittsburgh to San Diego, which eventually paved the way for what we have now, the creation of autopilot in Teslas and airplanes. We've seen the development of the internet, globalization, and AI with ChatGPT.
Huge industries have developed. We've never been so unilaterally connected as a world, but as my APUSH teacher once said on a poster on his wall, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. Sure, we've connected as a world, but that allows huge companies to exploit children and pay insufferably low wages. We've seen union powers decrease because workers can always be replaced with somebody who's willing to be paid less. Millions of workers have lost their jobs because of the automation. We've seen the evolution of sweatshops where people are forced to work under insane conditions for low pay because there is no alternative. This is our responsibility. This is the product of humanity. We've created this world where we don't know what's made by a human. Oh no.
In the 1700s, we entered the first industrial. The Roaring 20s. The radio is sending the although my mom's calling me.
Turn to face the camera. Throughout US history, we've been able to automate essentially most tasks, from making fire to driving cars. However, instead of always looking forward, it's good to take a step back and remember your roots. For instance, did you know that